Please join me in prayer. Beloved Swami, thank you for allowing us to gather once again in your name. Please be with us, guide us, inspire us to be your worthy instruments. Sai Ram. Welcome back to the second day of our conference, and hope you're well refreshed after a good evening's rest. To begin this morning, I would like to invite Dr. Michael Goldstein to address us.
I want a word of appreciation and to tell you how wonderful all of you are. I have the good fortune to go around to all of the study circles. I saw diligence, I saw dedication, and I saw depth of contemplation. All of you are, the leadership of this organization is in worthy hands, there's no doubt whatsoever, and I was deeply moved. Yesterday, as you can see, Swami also is very pleased with this conference and what is taking place. Yesterday morning, the leadership of Prashanti Nilayam and the All India Sathya Sai organization, among many other very important and significant dignitaries, some of whom are here today, came, sat patiently, respectfully, and also, likewise, were deeply moved by all of the things that took place, by your deliberations, by your conduct, by the exemplary status that you are demonstrating as leaders of the International Sri Sathya Sai organization. Again, I applaud you. Yesterday there was a change in schedule. I want to explain that to you. In the 35 years that I am coming to Prashanti Nilayam, I've seen presidents of India come and go. I've seen prime ministers of India come and go, but I never saw a president and a prime minister of India come to Prashanti Nilayam within 2 days of one another. And indeed, there's also a convocation. And finally, there's a 85th birthday, the 9th World Conference, and the birthday is going to take place in Hillview Stadium. All of these events have never converged as they are here and now. How wonderful an opportunity is it for every one of us. Having said that, I want to tell you that we were in the room in Swami's house prior to yesterday's darshan and the bhajans, and everybody in the world came with decisions and questions and problems and issues. Swami takes personal pride and pays personal attention to every detail of every preparation for every person and every event. I can assure you, I am a personal witness to this. Unfortunately, there were so many personal issues, events, and questions that our program was slightly altered. However, I want to assure you, I've talked with the orchestra this morning. They're going to be here until the 27th. I'm hopeful that we will find an auspicious time for them to present themselves and to play the concert. Having said that, now you're down to the final stretch here. Please now dig deeply and seriously consider the real issues with regards to the management of this organization. It's imperative that we have meaningful feedback. Don't get diverted with chit-chat now. Now is the time for you to think seriously. I saw your questions and answers last night. The questions and answers largely reflect what I had already reviewed in the pre-world conferences. I think I'll say a word about them on closing. I don't think I need to give detailed answers to these questions because all the questions are being collated. All of the reports are being collated. All of these things will be taken into serious consideration when plans are formulated to present at the Divine Lotus Feet of Bhagavan Baba for the future of the International Sri Sathya Sai organization. Let me just close my brief remarks by telling all of you, you're wonderful. Jai Sai Ram.
Please allow me to introduce our first speaker for this morning, Mr. Leonardo Gutter. Mr. Leonardo Gutter is currently a member of the Prashanti Council and was chairperson of the Sathya Sai Organization of Latin America, Zone 2. He is a psychologist by profession and represents some of the largest American, European, and Japanese TV and cinema studios in Latin America. Mr. Gutter is one of the founding coordinating committee members of the Sathya Sai organization in Argentina. Mr. Gutter has worked in the Sai organization for over 29 years now. Over this time, Mr. Gutter has held numerous positions within the Sai organization, among which are founding member of the Sri Sathya Sai Trust of Argentina and president of the First Central Council of Latin America. Please welcome Mr. Leonardo Gutter.
Sairam, I offer my humble pranams at the Divine Lotus feet, and I pray that He guides all what we say we do in this conference. Dear brothers and sisters, Sairam to all of you. On my first trip to see Swami, it was January 1982, he was on a trip to South India, and I went to Madras, now Chennai, to meet him. One day there was a public meeting in Abbotsbury, and I had the good fortune to be seated close to him. So in one moment I stood up and I approached him. No one stopped me, so I had the idea of presenting to him my visiting card so I can introduce myself. I was so naive, I thought he didn't know me. He knew me completely. I was the one who did not know who he was. So he graciously accepted my card, my visiting card, took it, smiled, slapped my hand and told me, "You are very lucky." Yes, dear brothers and sisters, I am very lucky, and so are all of you. We are here today because we are very, very, very lucky. We are here today because all of us have received an invitation from Swami, and our hearts responded. We are here today because for so many lives we have been working so hard to gain this opportunity. We are here today because all of us recognize Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba as the Purna Avatar of this age. We are here today because we feel that we have to offer him all our skills, talents, time and energy to work selflessly with our brothers and sisters to serve in this sacred organization. We are here today because we feel that we will receive some answers from this conference that will help us to know how we can serve better, how we can advance more in our spiritual path. But we must know, we must recognize that we are here today because we have failed in our last incarnation to awaken. And now we have another opportunity, a unique opportunity to awaken and to help our brothers and sisters to awaken. Why is this organization unique? First of all, it is unique. You have said that I have been with Dr. Goldstein and Dr. Narendra Reddy going around the study circles, and as Dr. Goldstein has just said, all what we heard was wonderful. I felt that I have nothing else to say of what I have heard in your study circles. I will try to say the same thing in other words. But we are here in this meeting because we recognize that the Sai organization is unique. We have Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, the Purna Avatar, as our Lord and Master. There is no other organization that has the Purna Avatar leading it. And this organization also is unique because there is something very special. Swami has a direct relation with each one of its members. This is a heart-to-heart relation. He presents his visiting cards to us wherever we are. We could be in USA, in Alaska, in Malaysia, in Africa, in Argentina. We can be in the moon. He will be there presenting his visiting card to us, touching our hearts, filling us with joy and delight. This makes this Sai organization unique, the heart-to-heart relation with Bhagavan. This pre-work conference is the culmination of all the pre-work conferences we have had in 14 cities of the world. The theme of the conference is the Sai Ideal Organization, the Sai Ideal Life. Let me share with you my belief. I feel that the Sai organization is ideal in itself. What we need is to have ideal Sai members. This is what we need, and then all will be all right. What is the Sai organization? Let me start by telling what it is not. It is not a political party. It is not a social club. It is not a spiritual organization for a small elite group of people that know a special secret, the identity of the Purna Avatar. The Sai organization is a spiritual movement, a spiritual organization for the upliftment of the human consciousness. It is the expression of the will of Bhagavan, it is the expression of his divine love, and the divine life always expands. The Sai centers are an oasis in the desert of the world. In the Sai centers, we can recover the correct vision, we can see the reality clearly. We are members of this organization because we feel that we want to contribute with the divine plan. Bhagavan doesn't want for us to become missionaries of a new religion. He wants us to practice his teachings, to apply them in all aspects of our lives. He wants us to become living exemplars of his truth and his love. The best way we can preach is by the way we are, we act, and we feel. We have to start by recognizing that the most important teaching of Bhagavan is his selfless love. We cannot be real Sai devotees if we don't live this love, if we don't express this love in all our actions and interactions. I think this is very important. We have to add this quality of love to all the activities that we perform in the Sai organization. The life of Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba is our teaching. We see how he touches the hearts of millions of people all over the world. People that will receive this divine touch, they start a process of self-transformation. You are here because you have accepted roles of responsibility in the Sai organization. You are office bearers. There are different kinds of office bearers. Swami always speaks about the different kinds. The one who works, the one who is working, and the one who doesn't know what is happening. But we should never, ever be bureaucrats or dictators. It is our good fortune that we have been selected by Bhagavan to fulfill these roles as office bearers. We know that nothing happens unless Bhagavan wills it. Out of millions of people that populate the earth, more than 6 billion people, you have been selected as office bearers in his divine organization. This is a big responsibility. A Sai office bearers should never act with ego or anger. This is the opposite of what Sai stands for. Sai wants our spiritual transformation, and the qualities we need is kindness, love, forbearance, and compassion. We have to open the doors of the centers. We know that the centers are free and are open to everybody, but if we don't open the doors with a smile, with love in our hearts to the newcomers, we are still having the doors closed. If we are in any country and we try to present to the newcomers something that is alien to their culture, we are closing the doors. The most important thing in the Sai organization is the excellence of all the activities, but the excellence should be an excellence of love. This is an ideal Sai organization. We have, as office bearers, two main responsibilities. One is to intensify our personal sadhana. The other is to spread the divine message to wider sectors of our societies by becoming spiritual exemplars. Our goal is not to bring more people to the Sai organization. We are not proselytizing. We just want to share with all the revelations given by Bhagavan. What is life? What is the real purpose of life? How we can achieve it. When we speak about his divine message, it's like planting seeds of spirituality in the ears and the hearts of the people that are listening. One day or the other, those seeds will sprout in this life or in some other life. And then they will start a process of self-transformation. Swami has said on the occasion of the celebration of his birthday, that the highest service possible is to work in the Sai organization. He added, those that leave the Sai organization are unfortunate. Don't be unfortunate yourselves, don't leave the Sai organization. It's in this context, when we spread his message, when we bring this message of Bhagavan, that we're doing the biggest and the highest service possible to the human beings. We have to think, each one of us have to think if we are doing enough. Let me give you the simple answer. No, we are not doing enough. May I repeat it? I am not doing enough. No one is doing enough. It will be enough the day we awaken. Till that day, please do more. We have to think that this conference has also the objective to intensify in us our desire to awaken, to intensify in us the yearning to increase our spiritual sadhana. We have to think how can we become better instruments in the divine mission? How can we serve better? How can we advance more in our spiritual path? Swami cautions us all the time not to be part-time devotees. Our spiritual activities are not just another activity of our lives. It's not that we are going to do some sadhana or going to sing bhajans on a Thursday or Sunday to the Sai Center and then we forget about it. The Sai activities, Swami says all the time that we have to learn a divine way of living. A divine way of living is thinking of Him, thinking of God all the time. Then we'll start to feel His divine presence all the time in our lives. We have to think what kind of commitment we have with the Sai organization. If we are here just for recognition, if we are working in this organization just to have a better place in darshan when we come to Prasanthi Nilayam, or if we are here because of our love for Swami and our desire to serve Him and to share this love with our brothers and sisters. We must feel that Swami granted us this opportunity to be office bearers, to purify ourselves and to be able to serve our brothers and sisters. We have to live ideal Sai lives. Then the Sai organization will be ideal. Let's not miss this perspective, because if we do that, we will be in this organization with mundane ways and mundane objectives. The Sai organization was formed in Argentina 30 years ago. At that time, we were a very small group of devotees, but we had the intense desire to share the news we learned here with as many people as possible. We went everywhere. If a person invited us to speak about Swami in some city 300 kilometers away, 500 kilometers away, we went there. We carry a projector, a candle, because we didn't have this projector with translation, so we used a candle to read the script while we projected the film, and we spoke about Swami. There were times when we went traveling 7 hours to reach a place and only 2 people attended. We didn't care. We were happy to speak to those people about Swami. Today, more than 80% of the Argentinian inhabitants know about Swami. They know about him, about his message. Not all of them are Sai devotees, but they know about Swami, and I'm sure that sooner or later they will become Sai devotees by living his message. Swami wants to give us the courage to become divine. The Sai organization has a way. Swami has stated very clearly the way how we can fulfill that. He said, unity, purity, divinity. The first step is unity. Unity based on a feeling of brotherhood and common purpose. There is no place for competition in the Sai organization. We are all brothers and sisters brought here by Bhagavan to help each other to advance in this path. If you allow me, I will share another experience. One day I was here, one of my first trips to Prashanti, I was in the ashram with 9 other Sai devotees from Argentina. We were in a room discussing how to continue our work in the Sai organization. 8 of them have a view, I had a different view, and I was firm in my position because I thought that it was the right one, but we couldn't agree, so it took forever. While one of my brothers was speaking, I thought, Swami, what should I do? Should I shut my mouth and give one step backwards, or I should continue? The moment I thought that, the brother sitting in front of me said, Leonardo, you should shut your mouth and make one step backwards. And I did that. Till today I know that they were wrong. But nothing happened. Unity prevailed. And this is the most important thing. The doer is Swami. We can be doing the biggest mistake. Let's trust him. Nothing wrong will happen. If we have this unity, then we will be Sai devotees, the Sai organization will be Sai, and the success will be ours. Swami says we have to learn to keep our mouth shut and our hearts open. I assure you, if we do that, we'll have an ideal Sai organization. We have to elevate ourselves to his level of purity, his love, and his truth. I want to conclude my talk with another experience. Also, on my first trip to India, when I came here, I was with jeans, long hair. I was working in another spiritual organization. I was vice president of that organization. But since the moment I came, the first darshan I had, I was waiting for Swami in Madras, and my heart started to beat very intensely. I thought I had some heart problem. But what happened? Swami was coming. And from that day, every day, when my heart started to beat, Swami came out for darshan. I knew that my heart recognized him much earlier than my mind. That's why Swami says we have always to follow our heart. Well, I was filled with miracles, with so much love. I immediately recognized that he was the Purna Avatar. And one day I was in my room, and suddenly I said, what I'm doing? I'm working in another spiritual organization. I'm here feeling that Swami is God. What should I do? I have to surrender to him. I have to give myself fully to him. I cannot be in another organization when he's here. So in a very small piece of paper, I wrote my resignation to that organization because I wanted to give myself fully to Swami. It was the night. Next morning I went for darshan. Swami came out from the mandir and came straight to me. I was sitting in the sun, in the darshan, with everybody, but he came straight to me, and he looked to me and he said, yes, I will see you today. When we say yes to him, he says yes to us. I was imagining, as you can imagine, we always want to have an interview with Swami. So when darshan was over, I stood up and I went directly to the interview room to wait for the afternoon darshan. But the Seva stopped me and he told me, no, it's not like that. You have to come back in the afternoon and Swami will have to call you. I thought that Seva didn't like my face. He was spoiling my divine opportunity to have my first darshan. So I became very sad, very, very sad. I thought Swami will not remember. Even if he remembers, he will not find me. When the afternoon came, I remember I was in the third line. At that time it was very far. And Swami came out from the mandir, and from the veranda, he didn't look for me. He just looked straight at me, and from there he said, you. And I jumped and I went to him and said, yes, Swami. And he said the most wonderful word, go. And in the interview room, he started to speak, and suddenly he looked at me and he told me all what I had thought since the morning. He was not going to find me, he was not going to remember, he knew everything. But then he approached even closer to me and whispered in my ear something that I will never forget, and please, never forget yourselves. He said, I will never disappoint my devotees. Yes, dear brothers and sisters, he will never disappoint us. He's waiting for us since ages. Let's us not disappoint him. Let's not miss the appointment with him. This is all what we have to do. I want to tell you that we are just not witnesses, but active participants of the most wonderful transformation that will occur in human history. The biggest transformation of the human consciousness. We have this incredible opportunity. The time is now. We are all ready. We must be willing. We have to take a decision to work harder with more commitment in this organization. I repeat, the time is now. We have to become not office bearers, we have to become torch bearers of His light, through the light in our faces, the smile in our faces, the happiness in our hearts. And we have to let all the people we came in contact with to feel that love, to feel that love of sight when we interact with them. We have to help them to realize that the human life has a higher purpose, that we have to live applying the human values in all aspects of our lives. Let's work together, united, with happiness, facing all the challenges that may face us with trust and confidence in Swami. We have to work with enthusiasm. The divine command is to expand His message to all the corners of the world. May each one of us become beacons of His light. May we become pure channels through which His life flows to all. I pray to our beloved Bhagavan to help us, each one of us, to become better instruments in His divine mission, and I thank Him with all my heart on behalf of all of us for this opportunity He has given us. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Mr. Leonardo Gutter. Please allow me to introduce our next speaker, Dr. William Harvey. Dr. William Harvey is a clinical and social psychologist. He received his PhD degree from Washington University in St. Louis, USA, where he has also taught for a number of years. Dr. Harvey specialized in the treatment and prevention of substance abuse, and he was consultant to the US government on addiction and mental health matters. With also a background in the print and broadcast media, Dr. Harvey, we have been informed, is listed in the Marquis Who's Who in America for 2011. Dr. Harvey joined the Sathya Sai organization in 1977 and has served in several capacities, including the American Council President and Central Coordinator for International Region 1. Currently, Dr. Harvey is a member of the Prashanti Council. Dr. Harvey is known as a very quiet person. At all the Sai meetings, he is the quiet one in the room. He doesn't say much, but when it is his turn to speak, pearls of wisdom flow from his mouth. He has this unique ability to explain things in a quiet and loving manner. Dr. Harvey was instrumental in forming the youth program in the USA. Youth have a lot of energy and enthusiasm, and Dr. Harvey, with his skills, was able to channelize this energy and enthusiasm into one of the finest youth programs in the world. Please, join me in welcoming Dr. William Harvey.
Om Sai Ram. I offer my loving pranams at the divine lotus feet. And give thanks to Swami for the grace and the countless blessings he is bestowing upon us. Our being here is but another sign of his grace. Thank you, Swami. Honored guest, young adults, sisters and brothers, let us pause and contemplate for a moment the awesome grandeur of this occasion. We are gathered in the holiest of holy places, conducting a conference, coming together of like-minded souls from all around the globe in order to engage in an historic spiritual pursuit. The Divine Master, the Universal Teacher, the Ocean of Compassion, who 85 years ago incarnated expressly for the purpose of restoring the practice of Dharma, has seen fit to bring us all here, as my brother just mentioned. How blessed and fortunate we are. The success of the Avatar's mission is assured. Nothing and no one can stand in the way. He does not need our help. Yet, he has allotted us a small but significant role to play in his mission. The vehicle he has given us is the Sri Sathya Sai organization. Because the organization bears his name, we must be especially careful about how we behave and interact with the public. Much can be said about the Lord's name. It has tremendous potency, which is why we chant his name with fervor and devotion as often as possible. Repeating the name can cause all worldly obstacles to just crumble. History will surely record that the year 2010 marked a watershed in the unfolding of the Sai mission. History will state that 2010 was the year when Sai devotees, working within the framework of the Sai organization, made a quantum leap forward. Collectively, we began moving away from business as usual, moving away from carelessly wasting time, moving away from merely giving lip service to the practice of his teachings. Earlier, many of us, too many of us, were half-hearted in the quality of our sadhana. We were, as Leonardo mentioned, and Swami once characterized this, we were part-time devotees wanting full-time compensation. What has brought about this acceleration of pace as we make our journey back home to its source? The superficial analysis clearly points to February, when devotees in all overseas countries began the diligent study and contemplation and subsequent practice of 3 of the grand spiritual principles enunciated by Lord Sai. God is, I am I, love all, serve all. Going more deeply, we realize that it is only His grace that enabled these efforts to succeed. What a great boon He is giving us, awakening us from our slumber. He is permitting us a glimpse into the core of our inner being, along with the flashing realization that divinity is everywhere. No wonder he once remarked that we should do well to regard Sai organization as our life breath. Being active in Sai organization helps us hold fast to the practice of hands in society, head in the forest. Wholehearted participation fosters critical skills and a loving attitude that facilitates our interactions with family members and with our sisters and brothers in the wider community. And more, we are appreciating the fact that all people deserve our respect. All people deserve our patience. All people deserve our unconditional love. Swami tells us repeatedly that the individual owes a great debt to society. It is one we can never fully repay. Because of this, Sai devotees are constantly on the lookout for ways in which to render selfless community service. And hence, one of the roles of the organization is providing meaningful opportunity for collective service activity. In a manner of speaking, we might say that devotees serve society and the organization serves the devotees. That is why Swami did say, never leave the organization. Hence, in the pre-World Conferences and in their aftermath, and in the workshops and the proceedings that have taken place and are taking place these last 2 days, we are in a loving and unified fashion using the talents Swami has granted us, using these talents to help improve the organization. In other words, to make it a pure instrument in his service. Of course, the organization is the collective of us individual devotees. And that means that we must first purify ourselves in order to purify the organization. Our challenge is to muster the courage the strength, and the confidence to not worry, to not worry, to not worry. Rather, to be happy, even when things seem to be going badly. Bliss, Swami reminds us, is our very nature. It is our essential core, and it can be available to us any and at all times, at any place, under any circumstance. He often says that the mind is responsible for our liberation and for our bondage. It can be a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. Therefore, we have to maintain the correct relationship with our minds. We are the master, it is the servant. Controlling the mind means controlling our thoughts. We are often surprised and sometimes disheartened when certain thoughts pop into our mind. And we are tempted to conclude that we cannot control them. Yes, because of that all-pervading thought that we carry around all the time, that thought that takes the form of I am the body, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer. Because of this fundamental delusion that we harbor, thoughts, all kinds of thoughts, pop into our minds at all sorts of weird times. But this is no cause for alarm. Swami has taught us we do not have to follow unwanted and uninvited thoughts. What we're saying is that we do not have to tolerate or endure negative, harmful, depressing thoughts. We cannot prevent them from paying us a visit, but we are not obliged to permit them to stay, to make them comfortable. We do not have to allow these disturbing thoughts to linger and give us pain. Instead of entertaining these negative thoughts, we must form the new habit of turning our attention to something positive whenever we're filled with these negative thoughts. We can do this in many different ways. There are many things that are positive, and we just think of that. It could be a child, a flower, a sunset. Perhaps best, we can begin to think of Swami. We can remember our darshan, his look, his glance, his smile. And another thing that we can do is to commence the repeating of his name. Repeating it with gusto, with feeling. And then gradually every time, our bad feelings disappear. This happens because we have turned our attention to something positive, something good and pure. It's important not to make the mistake of trying to push away negative or depressive thoughts. That is, it's important to avoid trying to force them from the mind. Swami tells us that that only intensifies them. It is similar to our entering a dark room. We cannot drive out the darkness, but if we turn on the light, the darkness is no more. It disappears of its own accord. Then, as we continue to purify our thoughts, we find that we begin to have more consistently loving and considerate interactions with our family members. You see, it has to start there in the home, out from public view. Swami does not want us to be heroes at work and at other places outside, but zeros back home. From the home, we can take it then, this new orientation, into the workplace, into the school, and certainly into the Sai Center. Perhaps more than anything else, Swami wants us to have unity, harmony, tolerance, and loving peacefulness in our Sai centers. We should remember to work in harmony and unity when we are planning and executing our center projects and service activities. Unity, Swami tells us, is very important. More important, in fact, than the apparent outcome of the project we may be planning or executing. For again, this is an occasion where our minds will tend to play tricks on us. Sometimes the service project is a very lofty one, and that tempts us to be even more rigid and inflexible about trying to infuse our way of doing things. Unity is more important than the loftiness of the projects. There's one more point to make in this regard. And we made a few remarks about the fact that we must control the vagaries of the mind. We have to balance that with remembering that Swami teaches us that the mind is not all bad. Just as it has the potential to lead us down the wrong path, it also has equal potential to lead us into good and wonderful activities. It is by nature pure. It becomes polluted because of our mixing with bad company. Swami assures us that if we associate our mind with things that are good, noble, and uplifting, it also becomes good. So as long as we are in the body, we have to pay proper attention to the rules of the game of life. Throughout the day, we play various roles. We perform various tasks. We discharge certain responsibilities that accompany those roles. In this sense, we are to regard this unfolding drama as if it were real. However, Swami wants us to remember that the world is not real in terms of permanence. It is not present in all the states of awareness. In other words, above the physical or worldly perspective is the spiritual perspective. And he wants us to give equal attention to the spiritual perspective. One way for us to avoid slipping into this illusion trap is to consciously dedicate all of our actions to God. To the extent that we form that habit of dedicating each and every action to the Lord, we accomplish two things. Firstly, we become prone to remember that we are not the body, that we are not the doer. And secondly, the Lord will accept the karmic consequences of the act. In addition, we should never lose sight of the fact that we must be careful about the nature, the quantity, quality of the food we consume. The kind of food we eat plays a crucial role in determining the purity of the mind. A crucial role, Swami tells us. We have to, of course, rely on our conscience, the voice of God inside us. Our conscience will tell us if an impulse is good or bad. If it says that the impulse is bad, we should not proceed any further. We should turn our attention to something positive again. But we should not hesitate if the conscience judges the impulse to be good. Even when an action appears to fail, it's because we sometimes worry that we're not going to be successful. Even when it appears to fail, we still gain valuable feedback, information, so that the next time we can approach it in a different manner. But we shouldn't be too hasty in making a judgment that we have failed to succeed. Very often, if we simply are patient, we will find that ultimately the action we initially deemed to be a failure turns out to be something we consider to be one of the best things to have ever happened. It is true, it is really true, that everything happens for the best. We just have to consciously surrender to the Lord, and He will permit us to realize the validity of that statement. We're responsible for the effort. We're not responsible for the results. So we shouldn't get crazy when we don't seem to be getting the results we thought we were going to bring about. Well, I'm nearing the end, and as I'm sure some of you expect, I will make my usual reminder, because it's important with this mind of ours to have some kind of counterbalancing tricks to keep us at least on a par, and maybe ultimately to go ahead. And we like to talk about the ABCs of Sai teachings. They're just mnemonic devices, which I'll say very quickly, but each time I say them, perhaps it will get more and more engraved in our consciousness, and it'll come to mind at those times when we need it. ABC. This is the one way of thinking about Swami's teachings. Always be content. That's the first ABC. Always be content. Contentment is best. The second one, always be cheerful. Always be cheerful. Always be cheerful. The third, always be careful. Spiritual arrogance is the worst kind of arrogance. So when we're beginning to enjoy Swami's grace and we're beginning to realize that we're making progress, there is a temptation for us to get a little heady about this. Always be careful. A fourth one that was added was to avoid bad company, which we've always mentioned. And last year, one of the young adults came and suggested that we add to our ABC D, E, F, G. D, E, F, G. What does D, E, F, G mean? Don't ever forget God. Sai.
Thank you, facilitators. I'd like now to invite Dr. Michael Goldstein to give us his closing remarks.
With humility and love, I place myself at the divine lotus feet of our Lord Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai World. Distinguished guests, brothers and sisters, fellow Sai workers, members of the Sri Sathya Sai organization. Let me tell you the way that you have made my day. When we planned these pre-world conferences and this world conference, according to the model that we've used, that is a few speakers, followed by study circles in which all of you have been engaged. I wasn't sure whether I conceived a platitude or a practicality. My objective was to create an ambiance and an opportunity for genuine spiritual participation and experience. It worked! What we have seen, this procession of facilitators of all of the study circles, the manner in which they reported the discussions that occurred in their respective study circles, the attitude that they expressed, the feelings that they generated were very uplifting to me and were certainly a spiritual experience for me. I must tell you that. 25 years ago, I think it was about 25 years ago, one day, Leonardo Gutter and I were in an opera house in a small country, and it was filled with people, actually thousands. They'd come to hear about Swami. And with Swami's grace and upliftment and support and encouragement, and God knows what else he had to do to get us through that in a successful manner, whatever else he did, it worked. And the people were very happy, and I believe that we imparted his message effectively and in an inspiring manner. As I was concluding my remarks, suddenly, in a most grotesque and disturbing manner, someone in the second balcony, there was a large theater and there were double balconies, someone shouted out something to the effect that Sai Sathya Sai Baba and his followers were devils. Shouted out in the theater, and there was utter silence. Utter silence. Never having had such an experience, I was deeply mortified, crushed, and bewildered. I can't even explain the state of mind that I had in reflexive response to this catastrophic event. I turned around and I prayed to Swami, Swami, save us from this, put words in my mouth, let me do whatever needs to be done, say whatever has to be said, let me at least preserve the love and goodwill of all of these dear people who have come and listened to us talk. Oh my God, help me. Leonardo was standing at my side, looking very bewildered. And I said to the people, and the words came out, but it truly was as if I wasn't speaking. I said to the people, who among men knows everything that we have thought, felt, said, done, and even dreamt? Who among men is not constrained by the laws of time and space, physics and chemistry, insofar as our meager knowledge enables us to understand God's creation? Who among men has spent his entire life uplifting and serving the downtrodden and the suffering, always giving and forgiving, never getting and forgetting? Who among men speaks the absolute, eternal, divine truth authentically and with complete authority? Who among men can inspire the most cynical and cruelest of hearts with the sweet, innocent love of a child? For me, it is my experience that Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba has done all of these things all of the years that I have known him. For me, he is God Almighty, Jai Sai Ram. There was silence for a moment, and then, of course, all of the people were moved, and they joined us in our jubilation. He says, why fear when I am here? He is here, he is with us, he is among us, he's in our hearts, he's everywhere. We have to recognize that and recognize what that means. It is true we have to have structure. It is true we need to have rules and regulations. And we must have order. And we must have a process. And we must do all these things. We must consider everything that you talked about. That's why I wrote all of that litany of things about deliberation, consummation, elucidation, etc., 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 etc. All of these things we have to think in some kind of a logical process so that there's an ambiance of communication. But really, when all is said and done, everything comes from your heart. There should be no talk of dictatorship, democracy, or anything of the sort. If you have to talk about a crassy, it's probably closest to a theocracy, except it's not really a theocracy because it's God and us. God and us, God in us. It is the Lord God. He is omnipresent. We are here as His creation. We are imbued. He is humanity imbued with divinity. We are divinity imbued with humanity. We are humanity imbued with divinity. He is divinity imbued with humanity. He is God, and He's taken the form of a man. We are men, and God is within us, there for us to realize, cherish, and become one and united with. We have to always remember that, embrace that, strive for that, become that. All of these things that we do in the organization are ways for us to create a spiritual ambience and opportunity for all people. That is what it is about. The context is the divine presence and the divine teachings of our Lord, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba. We're not missionaries, we're not here to convert, we're not here to promulgate teachings. We're here to become living exemplars of the Lord God's divine presence on earth so that there's a beacon and we are the instruments that will light the lamps of love to which He referred when He said, I have come to light the lamps of love in mankind. That's what this is about. Let us certainly elucidate, deliberate, and consummate in terms of an organization. But let us understand the bigger context. The bigger context is the Almighty, omnipresent Almighty, our beloved Lord, Bhagavan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, our dearest, sweetest Swami. That is the context. Keep that foremost in your minds, foremost in your hearts, in all that you do, in everything that, every project and every task upon which this organization embarks, every guideline, every rule, everything that we do, let it be with that in mind. Let us keep our minds filled with that goal and that prospect, and we will never go astray. My dear brothers and sisters, today you have shown me the way, and I dearly thank you. I love you, and I'm very, very happy at the outcome of this very wonderful Sri Sathya Sai World Conference, and I want to conclude by promising you that every question that you ask and it shall be answered. The answer will come from Swami. And you've also brought forth a lot of recommendations, criticisms, and constructive recommendations. All of these things, due to the very fastidious and incredible expertise of our beloved Dr. David Rees, have been recorded, will be cataloged, will be reviewed intensively. And all of the guidelines, I commissioned David to appoint a committee, himself be presiding over this committee, to gather all of the guidelines, all of the rules, all the regulations, all the guidelines of every organization in the world, including India, and the 9-point code of conduct, and the World Charter of 1982, all of and the 10 principles, everything that we have on paper. And we're going to take all of these things and we're going to make something that works for everyone. I promise you that we will do that. Jai Sai Ram.